What's up? My name's Colin, and this is why I hate basketball. So let me start off by saying that I am wearing an Alonzo Mourning throwback jersey from the Charlotte Hornets because growing up, when I first started taking basketball seriously, Alonzo Mourning was my favorite player. I got to meet him after his rookie year when he came to Hawaii and signed an autograph, and it kind of took off from there. So why does Colin hate basketball? Let's rewind. I started playing basketball when I was about 8 years old, third grade. Just nothing serious, just for fun, recreational during recess, whatever. And as time went on, my sixth grade year, my sixth grade class had a basketball team, and it was kind of a thing amongst other elementaries in the area. The sixth grade classes would have like a season, if you will. So needless to say, I was expected to play because I was one of the taller boys in the class. Did I want to play? Not really. But it was expected of me to play. Even went as far as my parents going out and buying me a new pair of basketball shoes because the thought was Colin's going to play basketball for a sixth grade team. So I was kind of already at an early age, I was kind of torn between wanting to play and being expected to play. Now, the pressure didn't come from my parents. It really came from everybody else, friends, other family. My parents really never pressured me to play. In fact, they doubled down and said, "Are you sure you want to play before we buy you these shoes?" And that's kind of where it started, right? Like I said, my parents never did pressure me, but that's where it started. It was the peer pressure. It was everybody else's expectations except my own. I would end up playing sporadically here and there. I ended up playing on a boys and girls team. I played at a local park just for fun. Again, nothing serious. And again, because I was one of the taller kids, I was expected to play. I was expected to be good because I was taller, lanky. I guess you could say I was kind of fast at my age. And I could jump really high. But I didn't have any kind of skills with the basketball. So in the seventh grade, going into eighth grade, that summer, I was on that boys and girls team. And did all right. It was my first time ever playing organized basketball. So because in sixth grade, I didn't end up playing for the school. I ended up just kind of quitting and didn't have interest. I just walked away. So seventh to eighth grade, there's a boys and girls team. And then in eighth grade, again, being expected to play because I was one of the taller kids. And I kind of started to develop a knack for playing. I started off being a really good defensive specialist. I was good at blocking shots. I was a ball hawk. I played defense really well. And from there, we had another eighth grade kind of a intramural type of thing, and I played. Nothing spectacular, but again, I could jump really high. So I ended up playing on I think it was an Aloha State Games, which is like a Hawaii, I guess you could say, statewide tournament for the eighth grade team. I didn't even get asked to play. I kind of invited myself onto that guy's team, and he said whatever, and I ended up playing. I didn't do too well. I actually kind of cost us quite a bit of points or opportunities. So from eighth grade, I kind of went on to play a little bit more at my local park, develop a little bit more. I had some friends who were actually encouraging me to play. Another fellow Charlotte Hornets fan who played point guard, and he and I would kind of go to the park, play. I would constantly get harassed by the older guys. When I say older guys, I'm talking about the high school guys, early 20s, even the adults, because I was a taller kid who had the build and the elements to play, but not the skill. I didn't have skill. I couldn't shoot. I couldn't dribble. I was just tall for nothing is what they called me. And as time went on, I played a little bit more, and I ended up trying out for my ninth grade JV high school team. Now, when I say that I hate basketball, obviously, basketball has done a lot for me, but ninth grade is the pivotal point where everything changed for me. In the 8th grade years, my friend and I, in fact, a couple of us, we would talk about playing basketball, playing for the school, going on to college and all that. And I was a big Alonzo Mourning fan, so I wanted to go to Georgetown. And those were my dreams, right? Play basketball, play for the school, somehow get a scholarship to go to Georgetown and eventually make it to the NBA. I was 13 years old. And then 9th grade came around and the reality hit because I tried out for the JV team, and for whatever reason, my experience on that team is what drove me to severely dislike basketball, almost use the word hate. My coaching staff was terrible. The coaching staff consisted of 3 coaches. I don't need no names. If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. There were 3 coaches, and 2 of them were kind of, whatever. One of them was a complete prick. He was completely malicious, toxic. And I thought that was just that's how coaching is. You had to be a hard ass. You had to be, just a tough guy, whatever it was. And that's when I started to realize, as time went on, I was like, wait a minute. There's a group of us from a particular part of town, and he was treating us very much different from the rest of the guys. So again, we made excuses and said, you know what, it's because a lot of those guys are returnees. So, he has rapport with them, not with us. But it got to the point where some of the stuff that he would say to my friends and I were very, very degrading. Very degrading. And in front of the rest of the team. And the rest of the team started to poke fun at us as well. And one by one, there were 5 of us from my neighborhood. And one by one, we dropped like flies. We quit. One by one. Until it was just myself and my friend who was another Charlotte Hornets fan. Right? That guy, a point guard. It was just the 2 of us left. And I made it to the preseason, and that's where I slowly started to distance myself from wanting to even be a part of the team, because I noticed that I was still getting treated like complete, utter shit. The things that were said to me were still degrading, still toxic. This particular head coach drove it to the point where I hated basketball. I hated the sight of a basketball. I hated going to the gym. I hated everything about basketball because of this coach and the way how he treated me and the way how he just presented basketball to me. I hated basketball. I was 9th grade. I had all these dreams of playing college and playing for the high school, playing for college. And all those dreams went down the toilet when this coach in particular, I guess, was my coach. I hated basketball. I didn't show up to the park for a little bit. I stopped playing. My friends were kind of like, oh, you should come back out. If it wasn't for my friends, I wouldn't have continued on basketball. They kind of encouraged me to come back out, and I still played with anger. I played with frustration. I played with this just being disgruntled. I hated basketball still. And the only reason I played was because I wanted to please my friends, right? I wanted them to still be my friends. And people were just tripping because I started to develop a little bit better. I could dribble a little bit better, a little more better. I could shoot a little better. I was getting a better feel for the game, and I still could jump really high. In fact, I was, all of 5'8", and just jumping up with grabbing the rim with 2 hands, missing dunks, attempting dunks, but missing them. And it was the end of my 9th grade year. The entire 9th grade year went by. I hated basketball all that time, and I played against a lot of older guys, adults. A lot of these guys were my height and a little bit taller, and they specifically made it a point to get me on the court and continue to play. Now, it was different though. These guys were roughhousing me, they were beating me up, but I didn't feel beat up. I didn't feel upset. I actually felt like I was growing and developing, and I'm going to say this name because I attribute this guy to getting me back on the basketball court, and his name is Tyrone Bale. We call him Biggs. He's from Eva, and where I grew up at, and he was one of the older guys that I looked up to. He is solely responsible for getting me back on the court and playing the game again, because he would beat me up. He would trash talk me. He would, get under my skin. But none of that made me feel like I hated basketball. It all felt like growth and encouragement, to the point where specifically there was a game that we played. And back then I used to wear denim jeans and a t-shirt. I didn't know how to dress as a baller, right? He beat me up that game. I was getting real frustrated. He knew what he was doing. At the end of the game, he went up to the, with the rest of the guys, waiting for the next team to come on. And I was so pissed. And I went up, and the first time I missed the dunk. The second time, I used to take off of one leg at that time. I jumped off my left leg, came up, threw it down, and I was like, oh, and I dunked it. I was 5'8", 9th grade, dunked the basketball. And Biggs was like, that's it, boy. That's how you do it. And I was kind of like, wait, what? So, he came back down because his game was about to start, and we talked a little bit. He slapped me in my chest, and he goes, that's what I'm talking about. I'll see you on the next game. And that right there was just like so much uplifting within me. Like, it gave me new life. It breathed new life into me to want to play basketball. It wasn't enough to erase everything that my JV coach has said, done, or put me through, but it was enough to make me actually want to continue to play basketball. I could honestly say that what Biggs did for me made me not hate basketball. I didn't love it yet, but I didn't hate basketball. And that just goes to show how much the JV coach did the damage that he did to me, young impressionable mind. And this coach just kicked me right in the nuts, square in the nuts as an 8th grade kid. So that's my story as to why I hate basketball. It's going to turn into why I love basketball, or I should say why I'm not so against basketball these days. But I will go on, and I'll just kind of save that for another video. But I will say that because of Biggs, I continue to play. I did play with a lot of frustration. I got better. I developed a shot. I learned how to dribble better. I was a dunking machine. I was barely 6 feet tall, throwing down 360 windmills. And a lot of it was because I wanted to impress Biggs. I for a long time I thought it's because I still hated basketball, but it's like, nah, man, it's because you wanna show Biggs that you're getting better. And that's where a lot of my force came from, a lot of my drive came from, was to want to prove to Biggs that I was getting better. And lo and behold, as you fast forward, I ended up doing pretty damn good. Basketball took me places that I didn't think it was going to take me. Everybody knows my story, that I went to New York City and I developed a good friendship with Greg Marius, rest in peace, the commissioner of the EBC, to the point where I played at Rucker, I played at West Florida, I played, I played at 145th and Lenox, but it wasn't an official game. I was just messing around out there, but I played. I took my game to New York City because after the boom of the Anna One mixtapes and whatnot, I wanted to see how good I actually really was. And needless to say, my basketball family out there in Harlem, in the EBC family, they took me in, and the rest is history. To the best of my knowledge, still the only Hawaii guy to ever play in the EBC, the only Hawaii guy to really ever play at Rucker, not mess around, play at Rucker. And the only Hawaii guy to be recognized by the EBC each and every single time I go out there. The Entertainers 155 now, but when they were EBC, I was the only Hawaii guy, still to this day, from what I'm being told, I'm the only Hawaii guy to go to Rucker and get love. That was why I hated basketball, because I didn't understand how much basketball could do for me and what it's done for me to this day. So with that said, basketball is all right. Thanks for watching.